Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Brough Guitars Review. Today is going to be part 4 in our series, the very end of the Tonex pedal, where we're going to discuss today the pros and the cons. As far as final verdict, is this pedal going to be something that would be for you or that you might want in your repertoire or what you could use it for? Now, I've had the pedal now for a couple months. I don't claim to know everything about the pedal that there is to know. I feel like I've only, again, yet scratched the surface as far as what this pedal is capable of. But I'm more of a, guy that's kind of like glass half full as opposed to half empty. So let's go and start out with the pros for now. Now for the pros for this pedal, I'm not going to go necessarily in any particular order here. This is just off the top of my head. But one being the fact that the learning curve. Now, some might see this as a con. However, I feel like it really dabbles into both because depending on what it is that you want to do with the pedal itself, it's not a super duper giant learning curve, to be honest. It just really depends how much time and energy you want to devote to it to really get the most out of the pedal. And you don't really have to know a whole lot to get to enjoy the pedal and to be able to do a lot of the things that it's capable of doing. Another cool application as far as this Tonex pedal is actually the Tonex app, where I guess you can actually go try out the app completely for free first, just to kind of dabble and see if you may even like how some of the tone models might sound, or furthermore get to kind of get a little bit of an idea as far as maybe how the software works and whether it's going to be something for you or not. So I highly suggest that you try that out first before going and purchasing this pedal. And when you're really looking at the footprint of this pedal, it's not a very daunting size of a pedal. It's not going to take up your entire pedal board. It about reminds me of the size of like a Line 6 DL4, probably closer to the Strymon size. It's just a taller pedal overall. Another great thing about this pedal is Amplitude, which is the software that happens to come with the purchase of this pedal. You do get the free version. That's a downloadable version. It's going to allow you to add a lot more pedals, a lot more effects to it. The actual Tonex software, you are able to do like reverb, delay, but with Amplitude, you're actually able to do like space echo or different kinds of compressions, pitch shift, different phasers, flangers. The list literally is endless, but Amplitude itself is extremely worth the purchase of this pedal. And I do believe you can buy Amplitude completely by itself. No Tonex software or pedal needed. But again, we are talking about the Tonex pedal, and if you bought this, then it does come with that software, so why not? Another great thing about the Tonex pedal is you do have different variations or versions of this pedal. Again, I do have the full-size pedal. It's what I've been using up to this point, especially if you guys have watched the other 3 parts in this series. And if you still stuck around, I've also mentioned that there are also the mini versions, are also known as the Tone 1, which is just that real mini size pedal, kind of like a Moore pedal. It's not going to take much footprint at all. Again, I don't believe you can record with those because it doesn't have as many plugins or ins and outs for you to be able to record, but it is compatible with the Tonex software, and as far as I know, Amplitude, for you to still be able to use it just like you would the full-size Tonex pedal. Furthermore, they do have the additional series known as the Brown Sound series, which are obviously just the patches that Jim Gosted made, or the tone models, as they like to say. I think it's very confusing when it comes to that. You can buy those pedals either individually or as a set if you just wanted to just straight use the pedals and kind of just go straight into your pedal board, or no software, nothing else additionally needed. There are those options. Another plus to the Tonex pedal is it does take pedals very well. Now, throughout some other variations of the songs that you've heard me record, also included in this video, I am actually using my very tiny pedal board down here on the floor, where I'm adding other effects as needed on the go. But like I said, with Amplitude and the Tonex software, you are actually able to add in effects, but if you're wanting to use it in the form of where you can have a pedal board and just engage on and off for a moment's time the pedals, Like I said, you can put it in the front of your amp, you can put it in the effects loop. It all works great. And again, for me, I think the biggest perk of this pedal is going to be ToneNet, which again, it's kind of Tonex affiliated and able to be used in Amplitube. That's where the creativity for this pedal really begins to just become endless, especially when you have your computer, because you have essentially just an array of different variations of pedals, amps, cabinets, all of these different things, mic placement. It's just the surface of the rabbit hole. You're going to get lost in it for hours. It's lots of fun, but you can get very, very creative. And even if you're not the most creative person in the world, that's where ToneNet happens to come in, because a lot of people out there have their own tone models, presets, patches, whatever you want to call it, where now you can kind of dabble into, your favorite part of a song, or your favorite tone off of a solo, or maybe a favorite artist, a favorite album, a particular song, hell, even movie themes. I mean, it is absolutely crazy what you can get into with ToneNet, and ToneNet specifically, I feel like makes this pedal completely worth it. Another great thing about this pedal is going to be able to do recording, because you don't need an additional interface. You don't need a Scarlett Focusrite or any other type of interface. You can actually use the pedal in interface mode, which is going to allow you to be able to directly record into the Amplitube software or GarageBand or Cubase, all of the different recording softwares. You will be able to use this as an interface instead of having to have an additional interface. So that alone, I think, also makes the pedal worth it because of what it can be used for. Also, with my setups up to this point and all the songs that you've heard or pieces of music you've heard me record, it's all been in interface mode directly through that pedal into my computer. A great thing about Tonex is again going to be the brand that makes it, which is IK Multimedia. And IK Multimedia also has a bunch of other tone models and presets that you can purchase. So for instance, if you are a huge, Steve Lukather fan, you can buy his patches. If you like Joe Satriani, you can buy his patches. If you're a huge Eddie Van Halen fan, you can buy those patches. If you like Gary Moore, so on. I mean, it's just, again, those are out there available to you that IK Multimedia happen to make, and you can also purchase those individually through IK Multimedia's website. Another pro that I'm not going to speak on, but more so along the lines of a pro as far as its capability, is this pedal is apparently able to do amp captures. So for instance, if you had your own rig at your house, your own amp setup, and you really like the sound of that particular amp that you have, or with your pedals and everything else, I guess the Tonex pedal is actually able to then capture that exact sound and then upload it into the pedal, and then you're able to just engage it on a switch, exactly your sound, the way you have it in that moment on your pedal. I personally have not done it, only because it seems from the overwhelming feedback that I've gotten that it's extremely difficult and or hard, or the quality may not be necessarily the same. Again, maybe that's user errors, maybe software errors. So therefore, I put it as a pro because it is capable of doing so. I personally have not tried it, because it seems like to me it may not be worth the headache. But if you are that type of person who wants to try it, just know that you can. And one of the best underlying parts about this pedal is that it is fairly inexpensive when you compare it to other predecessors that happen to do the whole modeler ordeal with AI and digital and all of that. You talk about cost, this pedal's coming in at about $329 brand new. And if you really add up all the costs for, like, especially specifically my rig, which is, I mean, thousands upon thousands of dollars, again, very blessed to have. It's been accruing over a complete and total lifetime. But when you factor in how much this pedal would cost, with maybe some of the other additional things you may need, it's just some things to consider when it comes to the cost, but it's still going to be far less than what my entire rig actually cost me, and it's a wet, dry, wet setup. But let's just go ahead and break down kind of what you might be out as far as cash flow for this if you're trying to look into getting the Tonex pedal. Again, the Tonex pedal is a complete standalone, so you can buy it at $329. You don't necessarily need a computer or anything else to be able to use it. But where I feel like you can actually maximize its potential and really enjoy the pedal for everything in all its glory, you will need a computer, and you should probably check to make sure whatever you have is compatible with the software. I, for instance, have a Mac. It's an M2, and I think I bought that used, you know, last year before, and I got it around $640. And obviously with your computer, then that's where I would suggest that you get monitors as well, because when it's just playing out of your speaker out of your laptop, it doesn't sound that great unless you have headphones, and then maybe you could just do it through headphones, and that's still going to get you kind of the same variation or capability as far as sound. I prefer to hear it through monitors as opposed to through headphones. So if you're looking to get in a pair of monitors, you can get them on the cheap end for maybe $100, $120 or less if you happen to buy used. Another thing you're going to have to factor in as far as cost is obviously going to be your cables. You can use 1/4 inch cables, which are just your normal instrument cables, but maybe, for a decent quality cable, 3 feet or so, you're probably looking anywhere between, I'd say $70 to $100 depending on the brand that you get. So I believe I have about 5 instrument cables as far as the entire setup. I have my guitar cable that goes into my pedal board, another cable out of the pedal board into the Tonex pedal. From the Tonex pedal, it's going 2 cables out into the back of my monitors. I think altogether that was about $100. Then when you happen to get everything uploaded on your computer and you have all the software downloaded, when you're going through specifically ToneNet, where you might come across these sound patches or home models or whatever they want to call them, when you're going through these, there might actually be some pedals, amps, cabinets that aren't unlocked, in which case you will get that static sound that I talked about in previous parts. And when that happens, you're looking at least another $100 to get the Amplitude Max, which essentially unlocks just about everything in there, and it is worth every penny. Trust me. And then you have other variables where you may not necessarily need it, where you might have just the computer chair and a desk. But again, that's all completely up to you, whether you have that, is that a setup that you want. And all these prices will vary because, again, you can get a lot of this stuff used, whether that's Facebook Marketplace, local furniture store, you can get it cheaper there. You can go to Guitar Center, you can get a lot of this gear used, Reverb, eBay. As far as the setup, guys, it's pretty much about how much money you'd be out, as you're looking at maybe $1,400, $1,500, which again, if you compare that specifically to my setup, you would be saving yourself quite a bit of money to be able to at least get in the ballpark and have a variation of sounds at your fingertips. With that too, another pro is going to just be the overall setup, because this is something that can easily travel. You could take this into a hotel. You could play this, with your headphones, your computer, and the pedal, and just some cables. You could take the pedal, you could go play it direct in through a PA. You could put it on your pedal board. Like I said, it all travels well. And especially now in the days where everyone's about ease and not having to pack a lot of gear or using 100-watt heads, that weigh a ton in a 4x12 cabinet, you can get in the ballpark with this setup here, again, for the fraction of the cost. It's also not going to take up a big space or a footprint within wherever you happen to live, especially if you're living in like an apartment or some studio or a townhome. You got neighbors that live literally, you could throw a rock out of your window and hit them in the face because that's how close your house is. Again, you could play this at a very low level as opposed to most of your amps. Even in 1-watt mode, if it's a tube amp, can still be extremely loud. If you're really trying to push the tubes, that can get quite loud even at 1-watt mode. And also, if you just have a normal amp setup, you only have so many different tones that you can get through your amp, even if it's solid state or whatever, how many pedals you happen to have. And maybe it's your go-to rig, but again, it's not going to be able to record for you either unless you happen to have a looper pedal or something that's going to be specifically for practice, where you're not going to be able to then upload that into your computer unless you then go through a mic and directly record. Again, through the pedal, you can use it as interface and completely record a song, an album, whatever it is you want to do straight into your computer. So again, there are a lot of pros with this for the amount of money that you'd have to be invested into it. Again, it just all depends on what it is you want to use it for and what you want to do. All right, so for my other side that likes to live more on the negative side, but again, we want to be genuine, we want to be real, so obviously there are going to be some cons with this pedal. One con in particular will be the same thing that was a pro in the beginning, is the learning curve. Again, you don't need to know a whole lot to be able to enjoy this pedal, to really get into it, but I feel like for those of you that really get it, you're really tech savvy, you don't have a problem uploading stuff onto your computer, getting software, figuring out how to, change things, save things, put it in a folder, learn how to operate the pedal to its maximum potential kind of ordeal, whether that's with settings to get it to sound the best or all of these different variables, then it would definitely be a con. It can be daunting when it comes to really trying to figure out the pedal, especially if you're trying to do the amp capturing, as far as the feedback that I've seen online or from people that have done videos about where they tried it. It seems to be a really big pain in the butt. So apparently the amp capturing is highly not recommended by a lot of people. Again, I'm not speaking on behalf of those. I'm just telling you what I've seen from my own eyes as far as research online, because it just seems so negative overall that I didn't even want to attempt to try it. But again, maybe if you're one of those individuals that happens to understand better or how the pedal works, or maybe because it's been out long enough, the kinks are worked out, I'm not 100% sure. Another con is just going to be the fact that I didn't read the manual. I saw lots of feedback where people were saying that you probably should read the entire manual. I watched a lot of YouTube videos to be able to figure out how to do some of the stuff that I did, and also reached out obviously to some of the people that I know within the guitar world and realm and my friend circle. And thank you guys again for your help. You've been immaculate. But to the pedal, I didn't really see any as far as like setup videos or how to, it just kind of seemed like everybody just kind of went straight into registering the pedal and kind of already knew how to go about it. Like I said, for me, it was a little confusing as far as what software I need to download. What could I skip? Did I need to download all these attachments? And again, maybe there's only 4 or 5, links as far as being able to download certain criteria, but it didn't really explain as to why you needed it for a few of them. So it just kind of got confusing because I didn't want to keep downloading it, and I didn't know if I downloaded it, then would it launch on my computer? Was I supposed to see something else besides what I was seeing? Again, I'm the type of person where I like to just plug and play, and I like simplistic things in life when it comes to the realm of guitar. I just want to be able to plug it in and play and just be on my way. But I understand with technology and a lot of stuff, it has enhanced a lot of things for the better, but has also complicated a lot of things for our old souls where maybe we may not be able to pick up on it as fast. So I'd say if you're one of those, quote unquote, the kids say now, the old heads, or if I would say just, you've been pretty much around since 1989 or before, it could be a struggle for you, but at the same time, maybe it won't be. So don't completely take my word for that. If I can do it, I'm stupid. So if I can do it, I'm pretty sure you can do it. So give it a shot. Another con would be just making changes on the pedal. For instance, because with the pedal, you do have obviously lots of knobs and buttons, and you can change settings on those, but that's because each button happens to have a multi-function where maybe you hit it once, it means this, to this, maybe the color means this, and it's just, to me, that's too much, and I know pedals have been doing that for some time. It's not just the Tone X pedal that's been that way. It's literally been tons of pedals for lots of years, and I've never really liked those pedals. Even my Strymon Big Sky is like the greatest reverb pedal I've ever heard in my life, but to deep dive into that pedal as far as just on the face of that thing, to me is just It's too much. Again, same thing with this pedal. So that's where the computer really comes into handy, or the Tonex app, where you can just literally just change stuff on the fly. It's more visual. You only hit one button to change the one thing, not just hit a button to maybe change 3 other things that you didn't mean to change. Picking up and putting down. Another downside to this pedal is when you're in ToneNet and you just happen to find that sweet tone that you love, or that solo sound, or that crunch for that rhythm sound that you really just want to play live, and you want to upload to that pedal so you can take it to your next show or to your friend's house, or just have it saved in there. You can forget that, because you can't save anything from ToneNet. Think ToneNet as purgatory. It is out there in its own realm, own land, own way, and just out of the way. And you can only go there to play, but you can't take the island with you. Same thing with this pedal. The island is ToneNet. The pedal is everywhere else outside of that. That's your day job, your routine life. That's what you're going back to at the end of the day. Again, it's the life you got to live. It can be a good life, but it ain't going to be that life you're living on that island, if you know what I mean. So that kind of sucks. On the realm of ToneNet, another thing just to keep in mind that I feel like is a con will be the fact that when you're just going from checking out each and every different sound that all these creators have made, you have to really pay attention to the volume settings when you're clicking on a new one, because the way ToneNet works is it all goes off of the user. So it's whatever that person had as their settings on that day on their computer, and that goes all the way to the volume controls and output. So when you go from playing some just really melodic, clean, bluesy sound, for instance, and then all of a sudden you want to go play some Megadeth, that volume might be absolutely crazy blaring, or even on the reverse, where maybe you go from playing Megadeth to, playing some Pink Floyd, super chill, clean music. It might be extremely loud on the output. And again, that's all based on the volume and the settings that the original creator had saved on their computer at that time. Again, you can adjust it as you have it open, but just know that that might blow your monitor. So just be really mindful when you're switching from patch to patch, or tone model to tone model, sound to sound. Again, whatever the hell they want to call it. Another thing to keep in mind is going to be, if you're trying to save money, and I completely understand because everybody is in a different walk of life when it comes to your finances, would highly advise that you do not buy this pedal used. More so just because of the simple fact that I've seen a lot of people online give a lot of feedback regarding they bought the pedal used, and because the pedal was already registered before through IK Multimedia, I'm not sure what the steps are after that, after someone is to sell theirs and it gets returned back to factory settings or whatever, but it seems to me that in the ethos of IK Multimedia that a lot of people are not able to register their Tonex pedal after it was someone else's prior. So just to alleviate yourself that whole headache that apparently a lot of people are going through, that I'm speaking on behalf of, again, not from personal experience, but my dad always taught me, learn from other people's mistakes. More so learn from your own, but especially other people. So I'm just going to take their word for it. Do not buy this pedal used. And then last but not least, bigger picture to consider with this pedal. If you guys happen to remember the good old 2020, the pandemic year, the beginning of the end for a lot of people, shook the world up, right? Well, obviously when you're sitting at home and you're doing Netflix and chill with your girlfriend, your wife, your hand, whatever you were doing, Netflix probably shut down at some point in time or had a problem connecting to the network servers or anything like that. Why? Because the entire world was watching Netflix or some other streaming service, whether that be Hulu, HBO Max, Disney Plus, Big Ten Network, whatever it is you're into. Probably a lot of the servers were down because the entire world was watching the same thing as you. That would be the benefit of actually having a actual amp and a cabinet. That way, no matter what's happening technologically as far as the world shutting down streaming involving the internet, you can still play your rig and play your music and have it sound the exact way you want it to at your fingertips at any time. So I wouldn't go just selling your rig or that one amp or that modeling amp or that little tiny practice amp that you have just for that simple fact, because obviously with this having, a computer, monitors, cables, any other additional pedals you might have, there's obviously just many variables for something to go wrong. And again, maybe with your rig, it's simple. It's just guitar, amp, cabinet, and that's it, or whatever. Again, it may have more variables, but again, less variables, less chance of something happening or getting broken, or less expensive to have to replace it. But again, that's up to you and what you feel with what you have, if that makes sense, to go this route and get this rig from scratch. Or like I said, maybe you already have a computer, you already have monitors, and all you're just getting is the pedal up at this point just to check it out and see what it could do for you. And I want the whole moral of this video to be that I think overall this pedal is definitely worth the try. It's worth to go out there, whether you're a Van Halen fan, whether you just like trying on a bunch of different tones without having to change a bunch of cables and your whole setup, investing more money and more amps and more cabinets to try to get that sound. Or maybe you're a mad scientist and you just like to combine 10,000 pedals to create this really atmospheric, out of this world sound in your head. Again, this pedal is going to allow you to do that and dabble in that for the fraction of a cost, as opposed to just doing this from scratch, buying real pedals, real amps. It just, again, the possibilities are endless to be able to be creative. And I think as a musician and as, people that like to play instruments or listen to music at all, obviously you all are very, prone and savvy to creativity itself. And I think that this pedal is going to allow you to be as creative as you want to be, or as little as you'd like to be. And that's what I really, really like about the pedal. Again, overall, I think it's a great purchase. I think it's a great buy. Even if you started from scratch and you had to buy all of this stuff to what you feel like would make it work for you, again, I would do it. I see other, like the Helix, the Kemper, others. There are other variations out there that I've vaguely tried, but this one, for the price, and once I dabbled into it, it just kind of opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. And I think overall this pedal happens to offer a lot more. Again, there are people that don't like it, and that's okay. I'm not sponsored here. I'm not anything special to IK Multimedia. They have no idea I exist. I'm just a bald dude in his room talking about guitars and all things guitars to you all who are even willing to listen to this. So again, don't take my word for it. Go out there and try it for yourself. I hope that this helps you in some shape or form, or in any way that I can. Again, just average Joe here, trying to save people some headaches, or maybe just give you a little bit of insight as far as, the things that are out there. So if you've watched up to this point, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate your all support. Please, like all the other freaking YouTube gurus, I hate to say it, but please go subscribe. It means a lot, just because I know you're engaged, you're interested, you want to see more from me. Otherwise at some point I'll probably just stop doing this altogether, because I don't know if people are really liking it or digging it as much. But give me feedback, hit me up in the comments, let me know if you like what you see. Please, you can go follow me on Facebook, because I am an old head, old soul. You can go follow me there. Instagram, I don't get on quite as much, but if you ever want to message me, reach out to me. Facebook's probably the main place, or you can just hit me up on here. Like I said, I'm more than happy to hear from you guys. But until next time, do whatever it is you do. Kyle's out. Peace!